Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
Okay, well, we've been really, this has been a variety of subjects and people who are here on the show, but this is and I'm going to say an old friend. She's not old, but she's an old friend. She's a wonderful author. We've had her on so many times, and I just wish she lived closer. She lives up in, I guess you're in Jupiter, aren't you?
Not that far, West Palm Beach.
Oh, so that's not that
okay.
far. So, Leah Hope Becker, you've read, of course, you've heard her talk about her books. The book I have in my hand, her latest book, is My Name's Not Robbie Anymore, A Mother's Tale of Losing a Son and Gaining a Daughter. But she wrote a lot of other books. Also, I Promise to Keep Quiet, After I'm Dead, maybe. And then there's I Promise to Stay Married, This Time, and Children, I'm Home. She's probably a stand-up comic, and she doesn't know that. She just puts it into books. Welcome to the show, Leah.
Thank you very much. No, I'm a sit-down comic.
A sit-down in front of the computer comic, right?
Yeah.
But your books do have such delight in them, and I always love having you come and share. One thing about Leah, she has a fabulous personal life. She's a tax attorney with an income and estate tax practice. She lives with her wonderful husband in Palm Beach County, and he is an illustrator, photographer, and she travels all around, and she's one of those kind of people, if you just say nothing, she'll fill up the air. It's a wonderful thing to be with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So let's hear
I've heard it put other ways, so I appreciate the way you put it.
One thing is you're always writing a book, and every time you come to our studio, I have to hold my breath because, okay, what's your next book? So are you ready to share that, or do you want to talk about, okay, ready to share?
I'm ready to share the next book.
Okay, go.
Okay. Well, when I decide to write a book, instead of just thinking about writing a book, I have to decide, this is going to take a lot of my time, and I got all these other ideas. So I finally decided I got to deal with the issue of overweight older women, because I am older than I used to be, and I'm when I get
aren't we all?
Well, yeah, and another way of saying I'm not as young as I used to be, and I go to the Publix in our neighborhood, and I get on their Higi machine,
right?
And every time, no matter how much I've lost or how hard I've worked, when I get the weight result, I get the electronic voice that says, "Good job." And then I get the results, and it always comes out saying obese. So I take it in stride because it's a number. You know, I always put in my height. I don't really know what I've shrunk to, but I put in my height, and I'm less than 5 feet. I used to be more than 5 feet. So when I put in my height and my weight, the chart, the electronic chart says I'm obese. But, you know, there's different kinds of obese. There's slightly plump, beautifully plump. There's could use a makeover, you know, and you just get through all the stages. There's a term, morbidly obese, and I've never been called. Thank God that machine doesn't say morbidly obese, because I'd probably take a hammer and destroy it. So, but I figured this is the book. But I'm writing a novel. My family does not want me to write about them anymore, and I can understand it because they got enough to worry about without being public. So this book is about a 65-year-old woman married to a man who is 69. And every time he talks about how old they are, he averages their 2 ages. So he says, we're a 67-year-old couple.
I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So she has...
That wouldn't be good for me since my husband's 92 and I'm 78.
Yeah, well,
I don't think so.
You don't want to go
no,
that. You don't want to go down that road. So, and he is a workaholic. He's a financier. And he makes a lot of money, and she doesn't really know how much because they have a lifestyle where he needs her to be his go for secretary, cook, maid. You know, she's everything.
Lover, I hope.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. They have, you know, they're together,
okay.
and the problem is that she feels dominated by him, and she doesn't have a life of her own. So she has a huge walk-in closet, which you know, it's cavernous, like a cave. He calls it her truck-sized dress depot. You know. And she keeps going up and down in weight. She's a yo-yo. She goes on these fad diets because she's desperate. And the book starts out that it's a mystery. She blames her husband. And that's why the title, The Husband Who Kept His Wife Fat. And she blames her husband, but she has a suspicion that there's other factors, like, you know, the restaurant industry, the diet industry, maybe the travel industry. And then she's got a ghost of family members past, she calls that, although she's got a sister who's very thin and is very sarcastic and always giving her advice and making her feel even worse than she does. So she's got all this stuff going on. And then she has a little suspicion that she reveals right off the bat that maybe I have something to do with all this.
Oh, yeah, right. And so the psychological aspects, do they come into play? That's really the...
Every chapter is riddled with psychological stuff. A lot of the book is conversations, because that's what I do. I do a lot of conversations. Like the husband will say, get up and make me breakfast and things like that. He'll be like that. Now, a lot of women who are, you know, very much into liberation, which, you know, is years ago, will say, why does she let herself get treated like that? Well, he's very good to her because he gives her an allowance for jewelry, clothing, anything she wants, she has. But it's bribery.
And she doesn't work, is what you said.
Well,
she
works for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the receptionist, she's the butler, she's the telephone answerer, and he says nobody knows how to deflect phone calls I don't want better than you, dear. You know. So even though he'll say to her, get up and make me breakfast, he's the golden goose, you know, and she's frying the eggs.
That's good.
Yeah.
See, I told you really are a stand-up comic. Listen, have you ever tried that?
Well, I do it in the mirror sometimes, and I
have to tell you something that
my friends are telling me
after you do this book.
Yes,
I know you have a lot of other books in your head, but maybe you ought to go to a couple of these places at night. There's a few places that, you know, they're amateur, but I think you could pick a subject.
Any subject. You give me a subject.
Any subject.
I can talk about subjects that I don't know anything about. Do you know that the late Sid Caesar used to do languages? I read his biography, not his autobiography. I think it was biography. He was deceased already. And what I learned was that he didn't know any of those languages, but he spoke phrases and things, and he made people think that he knew those languages, and it was part of his routine. So if somebody wants to give me a subject I know nothing about, let's say, I'm trying to think of a subject I know absolutely nothing about. It's got
metal work. Do you know anything about metal work? Jewelry, metal work.
Well, that's another thing, because I was in a class with enamellers.
How to make a microphone. Do you know anything about it?
Nothing about a microphone. Okay, but I'll talk about it. So you give me a subject, but I have my favorite subject. Okay, so that's what the book's about. And it's in draft right now, and I'm still doing research.
I thought you were going to say it's in drag.
Well, that's a different book. That is a different book.
Oh, my God. This is so funny. I love having you on the show because we have such a great connection, and it's always great. Okay, but now what about the cover? Because I love your covers now.
Oh, the new cover? Oh, well, the thing is that my husband told me that he would only draw the cover. You know about this contract we have. If I lost 25 pounds. Because he'll do anything to get me to slim down. And the reason is he loves me and he wants me to live a long and healthy life.
That's right.
And I appreciated that. So I agreed to the contract. A couple of months ago, I was thinking of renegotiating it because I wasn't doing very well. But
I've just helped her. I think I have just given you something.
You help, everybody helps. Right. I'm reading books.
Something you can do.
And I think I'm on the tip of the road to recovery, and I'm going to fulfill the contract. But what it means is the book is not going to get published tomorrow. It's going to get published when I fulfill the contract. So that could be a few months from now.
Although you could consider having someone else do your cover if you really wanted to.
There are templates. I mean,
my thing is, though, that he says he's not going to do it, but you might just go ahead and do it anyway.
I might do it anyway. But also, I also had a thought of having a hardcover book this time, but I'm not sure about that. So it's a lot more expensive, and I don't think people really care. And if they want to carry it with them, it's heavier. Well, I'm just going to throw that in. Not just a hardcover book, but a hardcover book available. In other words, hardcover,
I see.
Paperback, and of course it's always a digital.
Good.
It's always a digital book.
Then that's okay.
But that's not the important thing. The important thing is completing the book and having it be, really great.
Let's move a little bit back on this because you are a professional in a completely different line of business, let's say.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of people out there who are just dying to write a book.
Okay.
And the one thing that I've gotten from you, and maybe you didn't do it at first, is you belong to writers' groups.
I belong to one writers' group, and
always? You never was in a different writers' group? This is the only one?
Well, actually, I did attend Karen Zoe's Thursday evening. I attended a few, and I'm on her email list. But the time just doesn't work with our dinner and everything, so I've not been able. But I get something from all these groups. I'm also in a book club. I'm in the Ballin Isles Book Club, and I do a lot of reading. I mean, my house is filled with books. So that's basically what I do.
So would you advise someone who's really thinking about it to find a writers group?
They can find a writer's group. Now, it depends on the level of writing skills that they have. If a person has a great story, but they don't feel they have the writing skills, well, then they need to get a collaborator. But if you have the writing skills, but you never published, it's quite a road. So in that case, now, most writers that are just starting out, in fact, all writers, I believe, advise using an editor, and there are editors all over the place. And there's some that, charge a lot of money. They charge per page. I only used a content editor for this Robbie book, but it wasn't, wasn't a grammar editor. It wasn't that. It was, have I got my facts right? Have I got this right and that right? And I've been advised, I should have had this edited and that edited. But I started so late in life that I felt, I have, a limited amount of resources to spend on self-publishing. I pretty much decided I'm not going to get an agent, but that's always a possibility. I mean, people still get agents. There are agents out there. And I could change my mind tomorrow. But right now, I believe I will just be a self-publisher. And I think I'd advise most writers to get an editor, because it's really hard to look at what you've written and see the unreadability of something.
And do writers groups help you do that?
Yeah. They help. Because I am, in case you didn't know it, Anita, I am a person of many words. One adjective is verbose. And I'm going to add a fourth name. I have 3 names now. Leah Hope Becker. I'm going to be Leah Hope cut Becker. Because that process of editing means take out this. We don't need this. Why do you have this? There's too much. It's too many words.
Oh, you see, there's your comedy. You never stop.
But you have to understand yourself. You have to know it.
I'm going to move away from something because I was thinking, I want to talk a little bit about your last book. Cause
okay.
Remember, when you first decided to do this, transgender wasn't really a big thing in this country. At least they was happening in certain groups. But you came on something, and then all of a sudden everything exploded.
Well, I didn't cause it. I didn't cause it.
I know that.
I picked a subject I really didn't know very much about at all. And I did some research, not a tremendous amount of research. And the way not to have to do a tremendous amount of research is you do a fictional story about characters that you know these characters because they're people like that in your life. And then you do the amount of research to fill in the story so that you don't say something that is ridiculous, even in a novel. You don't want to say something that just isn't the way it is. So that's that. I think I pretty much succeeded in that book.
So why don't you tell everyone about My Name's Not Robbie Anymore?
My Name's Not Robbie Anymore is about I'm the mother. Now I have to remember. I think she was in her 70s. Yeah, in her 70s. And she had an adult son, an adult daughter. And one day the adult son calls her and tells her that he's had a sex change operation. Now he went the whole route. And nowadays you'll hear about transgenders that have not had the sex reassignment surgery. A lot of them have not, but there's a lot in the news today about
the use of bathrooms. I know.
Yeah, the use of bathrooms.
You think about it. Boy, did you hit a topic.
Well, right. And I have a chapter in the My Name's Not Robbie book where I really hit on this in a way that I didn't realize. It had to do with how he used his gym because he was a guy that worked out. And there's a chapter in there where he tells his mother, well, one day I went in the gym and I knew I was going to have the surgery, and there were women in the gym, and I asked them, how would you feel about if I changed locker rooms? And he found out that of the women that he was talking to, that one of them already was thinking of her gender identity. So he happened to have a sympathetic audience. And there isn't a lot of information in the, story in the book, but he did change locker rooms. But it was a good audience. It wasn't the public, really, the public at large. So that's where I touched upon that sensitive area in this book. But this book was published, I found out, in October of 2014. So it's like history already.
It was. I realized it, but
yeah,
you really did hit on something, and it was when you first told me about this, and you were thinking, I said, what do you know about this? Why did you do this? And I remember you just saying, I don't know. I thought it was interesting.
I knew that that a mother of strange children. What if I had children that were way, way different than my children are different? Well, my children aren't exactly typical children. But what if I had a beloved child that went way off the beaten track and suddenly surprised me? Would that make a good book? That's how this book came about. It was a what if.
And I remember you saying your children were so worried that they would think you always had to say, that's not my children, that's just a make-believe, right?
My children have so much to worry about, they don't even get to that. That's okay. That's the world today. We all have that.
That's right. But this was very unusual. The others, I think your other books were very personal, in a sense.
Right.
But this one really reached out, but it was so well done, and I'll bet if people are now dealing with this with their family members who have now gone into a different way, whether they're gay or whether they're transgender, it would help them because it's so full of comedy. I mean, you make something that's so serious, but people laugh about it.
Let me say a few things about that now. You've given me an opening. If you go on Amazon and you don't know about my book, and, 99.99% of the people in Palm Beach County don't know about this book because I'm not a real good publicist of myself. But you're going on Amazon and you want to learn more about transgender issues. What are you going to type in? Well, when you use CreateSpace, which I did, which is an affiliate of Amazon, you get 5 different what they call keyword things, 24 characters. Or I may be giving you the wrong guidelines, but there's a limit to how much you could do. So I put in transgender humor. I put in transgender surgery. Then I have a couple of phrases that maybe I'm going to change. But if you go, let's say you actually typed in those key words that I have. So in transgender surgery, there's 964 books.
Oh, you're kidding.
And then you sort them by relevance, you sort them by publication date, most reviews, and there's a couple other guidelines. So I tried to figure out how do I make my book on Amazon not the 962nd?
I'd put comedy.
Well, I put transgender humor, so that narrows right. The search.
Right.
And I found my book. It's there, but there's a lot of books. And if you just type in transgender, now you're going to get something like 20,000 books.
Okay, but yours is not. If I were looking for transgender, it would not be a novel that has comedy. I think you'd be hard pressed to find another book that deals with it the way you do.
Well, maybe they don't deal with the way I do, but they're in that category. Right. I've got a category called transgender fiction, and there's about 3,000 or 4,000 entries.
And I can understand that because people want to write about it, but you are doing it differently. So I just think this is unique in this world, but how are you going to get people to see that? So if I were thinking of being transgender, I would want to be able to be relaxed, and I don't want to go into something that's medical.
Well, if somebody's willing to surf, they can go past the medical books. There's enough information to go past the medical books. And now there's a distinction between people that have no idea that this book is out there and the people that know me. The people that know me, they'll type in my name, they'll type in the book.
Well, of course.
That's easy. And I'm on Facebook.
Right. But what if I said in Google, I said, is there a book that deals with transgender issues that's funny? I wonder.
There's a few that think they're funny, and there's a few that are funny, and I haven't had a chance to look at all of them.
No, but how many? Are there 10?
Well, I don't think...
It may not be a lot, because it's not a funny deal.
I don't think there's more than a handful.
Right.
From the way I wrote this book.
Exactly.
Because, personally, it really is not a funny subject.
Yeah, I know.
It's not a funny subject.
I'm saying,
it's not a funny subject. It's a very serious subject.
I know, but you did it in a way, though, that is not embarrassing. It's just...
Because I did it from the mother's point of view, from the family. Yeah. And even then, it's not a funny subject.
No, but it's the way the father deals with it and the mother's dealing with it, the sister's dealing with it.
If you have a family that doesn't have any kind of sense of humor at all, then you've got to really grope for humor in it. You've got to inject, where is the humor? And that's the hard part. That's why it's so hard to write comedy. It's just very difficult. A lot of writers stay away from it. They'd rather write 20 murder mysteries before they try to tackle humor.
This is great. Well, I just want everyone to please do get this book, because it's a wonderful, funny book, and it's so apropos. My Name's Not Robbie Anymore, A Mother's Tale of Losing a Son and Gaining a Daughter, and it's by Leah Hope Becker, which is Leahope Becker, And the cut, don't worry about that. That's not there yet. And also we're looking forward to your next book on, of course, my problem for getting fat.
The husband who made his wife fat.
Right, the husband made his wife fat and everything else.
Who kept his wife fat.
Oh, kept his wife fat.
He didn't make her fat, he kept her fat.
Kept her fat, locked her up,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I just heard a little story about Anne Boleyn and how she had her head cut off, by that monster king. It was King Henry, I think. Whatever. So see, men do have a lot of power. We can't let them have that much power. So you're good. When I see you here next time, I'm not even going to recognize you because you're going to be so thin. But you know what? I love you the way you are. And that word obese is not obese as we think. We see people are really obese. Let's say you're just plump, right? And I'm trying to and I'm doing this because I'm losing my weight because I want my blood pressure to come down. I want to be as healthy as I can. So I'm doing it for a little bit different reason too. Not just to look good and not to please my husband. Okay. Thanks for being here with us.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for
Stay
having
with
me.
us for our next great guest.